This is the Ghibson Les Paul that I am looking at. The owner says it plays like a bastard, and I am looking at it carefully now for the first time. I've done the neck aspect, and it turns out the neck is very badly underbowed. You might actually be able to see the lights. Let me just see. Now you see the light there underneath there, and no light under there, and no light at the end. So there's a very bad underbow. The issue with the underbow is that, zooming out, the underbow is there, and usually the underbow would be between there and there. So hopefully the truss rod will work and figure that out. Also, the frets are all over the place as far as leveling is concerned. Let me just do this. I've gone through the neck thoroughly with my fret leveler, and there's little bumps and dents all over the place with it. I haven't done the electrics yet to check them. The neck is also slightly twisted. Let me just see this, if you can see down. I don't think you can see the twist, but if you look, I'll try to put that straight. If you look at the very far end, you'll see that the nut is slightly higher on the left where the fat strings are. Now that could be deliberate, but the nut is higher there than at the other end. And if it's not needed, I'm going to fix that. Alright. Must look at the electrics now. So I'll do it now. I'll just plug it in and let you all have fun while I look at these. Hold on. Plug it in. Seems to go in okay. Switch on the amplifier. Zoom out. Right. Let's see what we got. Wow. Loud. Switches need to be cleaned. Not much. Let's just see. Only the last part of the switch makes a difference on that one. Same there. Not even sure whether it should be making a difference on that. Only the last part of the switch is turning the volume off or on it. Let me just see. Alright, the volume's okay, but those volume switches are not doing exactly what they should be. Let's try the bass. Yeah, that's okay, yeah. Absolutely no difference the whole way until you get to the end. Okay, let's try the pickups. Let's try. Right, okay, so the back pickup is okay. That's those two. The tone control does nothing to the very end again. Right. Volume control works fine. That's the front pickup. Volume control's fine. Tone control does nothing again to the very end. Now it does, but the rest of the knob doing nothing. And the way they've got it wired is both knobs do the same job. So when they're on full pickup, they do the same job. Right, okay, so must look at those switches to see how good or bad they are. It might be worth replacing them with quality switches, but we'll have to look at the wiring. Pickups look okay. It can be cleaned up a bit. Yeah, bit of a scratch. Bridge, everything like that. So I'm going to look at the inner workings, inner wiring of this, and have a look at those switches. Okay. Hopefully by now you'll have spotted several little things on this guitar which will lead you to the conclusion that it is a fake Chinese Ghibson Les Paul. It's called a Supreme, but actually overall it's quite a nice little guitar, and a lot of the things can be fixed. But my take on this was that the neck needs a lot of work, which I will do. The electrics, believe it or not, when you turn over you sort of go, what? Where's the electrics? So all the electrics had to be got at through there. My recommendation to the client, apart from the other work that needs to be done, would be to replace those potentiometers, keep the switches, but because they only operate in the last 2 or 3 bits of the thing, you're not getting full control over the sound. So when it's only working in the last couple of notches, you have a fractionalized sound on both. So that's not expensive to replace the potentiometers. Pickups are quite loud, quite nice actually. It's a pain in the ass to get into there, but that's beside the point. That's another story. And overall, it's a nice looking guitar. You can see the areas where it's a fake. One of the prime areas you'll spot is that on a real Ghibson Les Paul, there'll be a plastic nib over the edge of each of the end of those, and that's not the case. If you've got a Ghibson Les Paul, a proper one with the nibs over it, and you ask people to refret it, you'd be surprised at how much it costs you. It is a fortune to replace ones with the nibs on the end. Other than that, I probably would recommend him if he's going to go for the full fake and get the potentiometers. I'd recommend him to get a plate that says treble and bass on it, which is what almost all, unless the Supremes don't have it, I don't know. This is a Supreme copy, and if it doesn't have it, well, okay. The other thing you'll notice is that it has Grover tuners on it. Well, it doesn't have Grover tuners for a start. They're fake Grover tuners. Grover tuners, the word Grover is almost touching the circle on real Grover tuners. This is up slightly from it. And besides that, you can see how they're scratched and everything like that there. I got a feeling those scratches are from how it's been hanging, whatever it's been using. But they're not bad tuners. They actually feel good and they feel nice. But they're not Grovers, and they're made in the USA, not a chance. That serial number, probably the number of fakes they made. 02, I'll look it up to see if there is a Ghibson. Look, there's also supposed to be a problem with the neck, but this doesn't have it. There usually is a ridge along there, doesn't have it on the Supreme Ghibson, but it does have, you can see there, a join on the neck. It also is supposed to have a join there, but it doesn't have it. So overall, it's quite a nicely made guitar. Some nice, what do you call it, flaring in the wood, and generally speaking, more holistically, yeah, don't buy them, don't buy them. But a lot of people don't have £2,000 or £3,000 to spend on a guitar, and they just like to have a little thing hanging on their wall and be able to play it. So I'm not going to preach to anybody. Okay, I'm going to contact the customer and ask him what he thinks. Right, we've got the truss rod way down in there on this Chinese Ghibson, and I'll show you once again the problem. It's touching the wood there, and as you go along the body you'll see it's more and more of a gap, more and more of a gap, more and more of a gap, right to the very end when it's touching the wood at this end. That makes it slightly unusual, and I hope that the truss rod will take it out. I'm going to twist it now. All right. Right, after several 1.5 turns, I think, of the truss rod, we've got a situation where it's improved. And what we have is an unusual situation, as I said before, whereas the front frets are touching, the third fret's touching, and the fourth fret's touching. The rest are slightly high. But I think what I can do is, now the neck is sort of straight. Let me just check the straightness. Hold on a second here. Can you see that? Yeah. Yeah, the neck is, the frets are sort of straight. Let me just do a little tack up here. Yeah. That maybe demonstrates better what the problem is. Just about there, the neck is high, is bent upwards, but the rest of the neck is bent lower. So I think what the truss rod's doing is it's putting more pressure there than it is down there. It's helped bring the neck a little bit straighter. So when I do a fret leveling, I'll take a little bit more off that area to try to get a better playing on it. So that's the plan. But I haven't got the cover, the truss rod cover on yet, because this little Chinese Gibson had really cheap screws. The heads just came off them. So what I'm going to do is do double-sided tape on them and then just tack the screws on, but the owner won't be taking the cover off. Only someone working on the truss rod will be. Owner mentioned about having it going out of tune. Now, there's only two reasons that I can think of, well, maybe three. Strings being really, really cheap, and they just keep going stretching all the time. That's very rare. The other is the tuner heads maybe not very good at catching, and that's what I suspect is the problem. And the third is, yeah, the neck going out of shape a lot, but that doesn't happen either very often. So I think it's the tuner heads. But to get this guitar, the main thing was the action was bad on it. That's what the owner said. So now I have an action at the top, which is the same as my Gretsch, which is very good, really good. It's what I would call medium good at the bottom. I had to do something which I don't normally do, is I had to put the bow on the neck and then fret level to get these frets down, because these frets, the neck is shaped like that, down and then up, and then there's a hump there and then down again. So those were at a hump level. That's various reasons. So I had to bring those frets down when the neck was in the bow shape, which is something I don't like doing. I like doing the frets when the neck's straight, but this neck has got a little bit of a problem with it. Setting the action for someone who's fussy is extremely difficult, because it depends on how you play it. When I play it to check the setting to make sure it's not buzzing. But if you're smashing these things or bashing these things, which I don't think this owner does, you could get buzz. But you may still get a little bit of buzz up here, although I can't find any. But this is set as low as this will go. To go any further, because of the shape of this neck going down and up like a roller coaster, will cause problems. So I think the owner should be happy with it. It's a lot better action now than it was. I do worry about the tuners, but we'll see what we can do with them by tightening them up, by tightening them tight, by getting them tighter. Yeah, it's very clever. I've tightened up the screws on the outside, which has made the tuner stiff. Now that will, because there's a gear in this, and if it's a cheap gear, that will help it from going out of tune, because a stiff tuner will not release as easily. So they're all nice and tight now. Actually, that might make that one a little bit tighter. But being, let's just see, hold on. Let's see. Yeah, that one's a little bit tighter now. So I'm going to do a little demo now, and then it'll go back to its owner. Okay, this is the Ghibson Les Paul Chinese version. I had to lower the front pickup because the strings were scratching the back of the pickup when they were getting hit, and I had to raise the back pickup because it was just a little bit too low. Although again, that's something the owners would probably prefer to do the way they do, you know. I put the back tailpiece down as low as possible to give as much angle on the strings as possible. That gets a really pure tuning on the intonators. The intonation in this guitar is excellent. I did tweak a couple of the middle things to make them more intonatable, better in tune, but it sounds very good. It looks good, it sounds good, very strong pickups, very good wallop. I haven't put the truss cover on yet because of little problems with that. Overall, it's a nice little guitar. It could do with new wiring and new pot switches. Pickups are actually quite good. I had to take that off because it's a cheap jack insert, and the more you use it, the more it just bends away from it, so I had to bend it in a bit and get it fixed up. Other than that, it's very good, and it's all working very nicely, and it really depends on the owner. I would expect the owner to play this for a while and see what he thinks of it, and then send it back to me if he needs any changes done to it, because I have this really low for this guitar. A real Ghibson Les Paul, you probably could get a little bit lower, but for this guitar, this is really low, on the edge of buzzing some of the strings. But if the owner plays it and uses it for what he wants to, anybody can go along and do a test of every single string, right? But people don't play it like that. You know, you could go right there and go, oh look there, that might be buzzing. It's not in this case, but if it was, so what? Nobody plays up there. So I asked the owner to play it the way he normally plays it, and if he feels any buzz in his normal playing, I'll do some more. Lovely guitar. Tempted to buy one of these myself. They're very nice. Good guitar. I'll get it back to the owner now. All right, ciao.